The magnificent power of compounding. It's a quote attributed to Einstein that those who understand compounding will make it work for them. Those who fail to understand it have it work against them. Let's understand this principle of compounding, Warren, because it's very uninspiring to know that, I don't know, if you're going to get a growth rate of an average of 7% a year, you put in 100, at the end of year one, you've got 107. Doesn't sound very impressive. By the end of year two, you might have 114, 115, for example. Still not very impressive. I don't feel like I'm making any real money here. Explain to me, please, why compounding matters and why the graph is a little bit like a space rocket at a certain point in time.
We've got a very nice example from nature about how compounding can work. And I'm not a farmer, but I love farming. And let's just say I buy 2 cows, and I have a male and a female, and I put them in a field and I leave them for a while, and I come back, after they've been well looked after, and I now have 3 cows, because what's happened is the male and the female have had a baby. And then I come back a year later and suddenly they've had another baby. And so my one bull and one cow now have given me 2 calves. And very simplistically, but a real example, that is compounding, is where 1 + 1 gets you to slightly more than 2 if you leave things alone. And in the world of money, it takes a little bit longer than it does for a cow to be born for your money to really start growing. But that's the thing you're trying to do, is you're trying to let the nature take its course. And in this instance, nature is compounding. And the only way you really make a lot of money out of compounding, and that's how most of the wealthiest investors have really done it, is you have to leave your money for quite some time. And once you start to look back, you start to realize that you're making more in growth than you originally put in.
And so it may be terribly uninspiring in years 1, 2, and 3, but by the time you start getting to years 10, 15, and 20, the interest or the returns that you've earned over those years, you're getting 7% on that, and 7% on the next big number, and the 7% on the next big number. And that's when the graph goes, I don't know if we can quite call it exponential, but certainly gets a very sharp curve upwards.
Yeah, so that is exactly what happens. It does become exponential, and I'm thinking maybe the action, Bruce, is that you need to go and find 1 or 2 articles about when the world's best investor, which I'm going to say is not really arguably, but potentially arguably, is Warren Buffett, and look at how much money he generated on his investments, and the real money really kicked in his 60s. It wasn't in his 30s when he was making potentially his best investment decisions. It was once he had made some really good decisions and left that money to keep growing that the wealth really started to create. And that's really the power of compounding, is a little bit of time, not a lot of genius, a lot of patience, and all of a sudden, a lot of money.
Warren Ingram, Certified Financial Planner. Your action this week: just Google compounding Warren Buffett and understand how time has given him the biggest rewards of all. Warren Ingram is a Certified Financial Planner. I'm Bruce Whitfield. This is the Financial Freedom Pod.